The hallowed grounds of motorsport meet one of sim racing's longest tenured leagues. For the 17th time in over a decade, the Highline Racing League is back in action. This is the Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series, and tonight, the Daytona International Speedway plays host to our season opener, 80 laps of non-stop, full throttle action. This is the Westlake Royal Building Products 200, and it's our season opener for season 17. A new look on the track, bringing back the Xfinity Series cars used for 6 seasons of Highline competition. They're back at long last. We didn't see them throughout seasons 14, 15, or 16, but now as Highline Racing League's 4th season on FTN comes into play, the most well-known, most storied cars in this league's history, they're back in action, and we can't wait to see them in full force. It's great to be back as well. Last time I saw you all, it was November when we wrapped up our championship at the Homestead Miami Speedway. I'm David Kreutz, producing and commentating, and hopefully later on in the night, we'll have Alexander Balderas, our truck commentator, coming aboard to give you the action all throughout tonight's event. Qualifying was already set in the duels, which are broadcasted on Highline Media, so tonight we do not have a qualifying session, and drivers are taking times right now, getting practice laps in, with Jacob Halm being the fastest on the board. Tyler Hampton, as you may remember, dominant in our season finale last time around in 2023. He had Homestead Miami in the palm of his hand and came home as a winner in only his second career start. A very impressive performance from the number 5 machine coming through in his only second start. And flag to flag was the dominant man. Here at Daytona, though, don't expect any driver to be dominant. However, we saw Tuesday night, we do have a team to watch, Swamp Motorsport. 2 seasons in a row, they have won the truck event, and last season, DJ Stagner was able to win not only the truck event, but the Premier Series race. So tonight, Ty Smith is the man to watch, who got it done most recently in that truck event on Tuesday. I think once again, he'll be the man to perhaps hold and carry the banner for Swamp Motorsport, and we might see yet another back-to-back sweep here in our Highline Speed Weeks. It's going to be a fantastic night of racing. 31 drivers have taken a lap, 34 drivers have registered, and the high card counts of seasons past have once again returned. Terry Brooks in the chat, unfortunately not able to make it a night's race. However, going to be watching along with the great viewing crowd we've seen. A great crowd on Tuesday night, and we're hoping to see one yet again as we are now getting set to go to our racing session. Warm-up has concluded. Time to bring in your starting grid, and it looks like at the top of the board here in practice, it's going to be Jacob Halm by 8 1/1000ths of a second over Lucas Lodato. That is your starting grid. In just a few moments' time, you're set to find out who lines up where. Warm-up has concluded. Now, let's take a look at your starting grid from the World Center of Racing. Daytona International Speedway. For the final time tonight, we will have a silent track, so let's take that opportunity to look over who is starting where. And without further ado, your first starting grid of Season 17. This is the Westlake Royal Building Products 200, and it's time for Daytona to come alive. At the top of the board tonight, DJ Stagner going to have that pole position over Brad Kress in the second spot. Number 9 machine going to be right beside the 64. DJ looking to defend his Daytona victories 2 in a row before our Tuesday night truck event. He's still looking to go back-to-back here in the Premier Series. Next up on the order, you will see 3rd place Roberto Ramirez, and 4th is going to be occupied by Ty Smith. These drivers 2nd respectively in their duels. It was dual events that were able to set the grid for tonight's race, so these 2 drivers runner-up in their respective duels. Then you're going to see row 3, Matt Muir and Dylan Petit. Dylan, 2-time Highline Racing League winner, coming into this race. His most recent victory came last season at Phoenix. Keep an eye out for him as the race goes on. Ryan Hines is going to be lining up in the 7th spot with Justin Gibbs, then in 8th, and it's going to be 9th place, then occupied by Tyler Rush and Toby Wedgwood, then in 10th. 11th place will then be held by Kenny Brooks. It's going to be 12th spot Ryan Potter, and 13th place will be Alan Kunman with Lucas Lodano, one of the drivers that made the jump up to the Premier Series last season. He'll be going full-time this time around, and he starts in 14th. 15th place will be held by Connor Holden with Adam Bozzi, then in 16th, and it'll be 17th place in Dylan Wedgwood. Scott Wheeler going to be 18th spot. In 19th is going to be the Jonestown Jet. Caleb Morrissey, Kendall Kerr is going to be in the 20th position, and 21st is Casey Heschel with Colton Gardner in the number 40. We'll get that corrected. He will be in 22nd. 23rd, that's going to be Jacob Hamm, and 24th, your defending champion, Scott Selner. Keep in mind, he's got teammates around him all race long. The Flying Scotsman may come back in action. Chad Winstead is going to be then in 25th. 26th is going to be held by Tyler Hampton. It'll be Matthew Rodriguez then in 27th. 28th, Dylan Body. 29th is going to be Jimmy McKee. Tyler Snyder will then be the final man of the top 30 with Austin Bloom 31st, Cody Buzzard then in 32nd, Michael Deitch 33rd, and 34th and last of your starting grid, Corey Blevins. We've got a packed grid, Alex. Great to have you back, and as we get things set up tonight, you were on the call for our Tuesday night race. You know a little bit more about this track and these drivers than I do coming in, so anything you'd like to tell us before things get going here at Daytona?
Daytona always brings exciting racing no matter what, and we're sure going to see that here tonight. The Tuesday race and the truck race went great. We're going to see the same thing here from the high banks of Daytona in the Xfinity Series.
And the high banks coming alive right now. You'll see it on your screen. Daytona International Speedway opened in 1959, 2.5-mile oval circuit. That's what we're using tonight. And this track, of course, infamous for many races. The Daytona 500, 24 hours of Daytona. It's also seen AMA, it's seen ARCA, it's seen rallying, it's seen endurance. It's really seen it all, but tonight we're going back to the stock cars and these Xfinity machines. I'll tell you this much, Alex, you were behind the wheel of an Xfinity stock car just about 2 hours ago in the Iora Cup Series, so you know a little bit more about what it's like inside the wheel right now. You think there's any keys to victory in terms of keeping the car in check tonight? These drivers have to keep an eye out for?
Oh, for sure. The Xfinity car, no matter what track you're at, is a tough car to handle. Knowing its weaknesses and knowing where you can prevent incidents from happening is going to be one of the keys to prevent yourself from becoming, along with the field, in the wreck tonight. So being able to keep your nose clean and be able to understand the runs that this car can generate. And not only that, the way this car handles on a long run. It's a little bit floaty. It's not like the truck or the next gen where it seems planted on the ground. You kind of see when these guys are swerving left and right, you kind of see the car having to settle back down whichever way people are turning. That's just kind of the way that this car likes to handle. And that's going to be one of these things that these drivers have to overcome if they want to go to victory lane here tonight.
Keep in mind, individual handling and networking. It's always about that communication here at Daytona. Big packs, high speeds. You do not want to be lonely on the high banks. Before we get going, we'd like to thank the amazing Andrew Schulte for our overlays for tonight's event. You might notice they're like the brand new Fox overlays, and I think they're a little better, personally speaking. And tonight, it's going to be a special one. 17th season opener. Since 2011, the Highline Racing League has given us fantastic racing, and we're going to give you the first lap without any commentary, silence, and the raw noise of these Xfinity stock cars. Pace car is down and in this time by defending Daytona winner DJ Stagner will take the field to the green flag, and we are underway from the World Center of Racing. Welcome back to Daytona. Welcome back to the Premier Series.
David, heading into this race, we have some favorites here at the front of the field. Ty Smith and Dylan Potee were up front there in the race here Tuesday for the Truck Series, and now they're leading the pack here, first and second. These two are becoming known as plate aces, as we saw them leading the field here in the trucks just a couple of days ago, finding themselves doing the same thing today. Do you think that today they could end up in Premier Series victory lane?
I think that's a really good point to keep an eye out for. Ty Smith, he looks very comfortable this season, a little bit more than anything else we've seen him before. He's a veteran in this league. We've seen him as early as season 14 and consistently as a full-time competitor as recent as last year in season 16 with the Gen 4 cars. But these Xfinity cars are definitely more comfortable. I think that's going to give way to better racing. You don't really have to fight the car as much. Don't get me wrong, it's not an easy package, but when you're focused less on fighting the car and more about racing your competitors, you definitely get into a better mindset as a driver, and it really helps you out as the race goes on, as the season goes on, and Ty Smith is looking very comfortable right now. Keep in mind, his teammate DJ Stagner is in fourth at the moment. He's a former Daytona winner in the trucks and the Premier Series too. So you have experience all around you, and that's going to help you out a lot as a driver, especially if you're newer to this field. Ty Smith by no means is a rookie, but for some of these guys who have been here since the early 2010s, he might be one of the newer guys in the crowd. So for Smith, getting those laps up in front is crucial right now, and he's led everyone to this point.
Having experience around you and having that experience underneath you is going to really take charge here tonight. You know, you were saying how this Xfinity car handles most and handles better than the Gen 4, not having to fight it as much. Well, I agree with it to some degree. This Xfinity car, if you're not really paying attention, it'll catch you when you're lacking. Especially on some of these plate tracks, if you're not paying attention here, this thing can get hot really quick when it comes to pushing. While it can push great and much better than the Gen 4 and much of the other cars on the iRacing service, it's one of those that'll get hot quick. And as we saw in the Iowa race, we saw a couple explosions, so I don't see this far thing, I don't see that maybe not happening here tonight, but these guys have to be on their toes if they want to make the most of this car.
And that's a fair point. You really do not want to be stacking yourself up too early. So look, we're looking back right now to Chad Winstead, Caleb Morrissey, Scott Wheeler. We got the four horsemen who are in the mix in the back of the field right now. We got Michael Deitch as well, who was racing with you earlier today. And you notice these guys are really spread out, almost a car length between each other for the time being here in the back half of the field. Already drivers are beginning to wait, try to be a little less aggressive back here. They definitely do not want to get caught in an incident, especially given the fact we're only 5 laps in. So patience is going to be prevalent right now all throughout the pack, and we're seeing it from drivers who really do not want to get caught in those wrecks. You got to keep in mind those engine temperatures will come at you. Do not want to have a bad Daytona race. That often sets the tone for the rest of your season. If we're looking at drivers who are in the back half of the field right now, I want to highlight Jimmy McKee. He's in 15th, so he's honestly in the front half of the field, but he had a fantastic season 15. Was not able to come home as the champion, but he's kicked it off with a fantastic side-by-side battle between he and Scott Wheeler for the win at Daytona, and just barely McKee came through over the defending champion at that time. This race is a really big, crucial piece of building that momentum as the season progresses here, and it's a beautiful number 48. Scott Puckett going to be the sponsor tonight. You really want to have a calm, clean race here at the very minimum, because we expect drivers to not make it all the way. We don't expect all 34 to get to the end, realistically speaking, but these are good drivers, and I don't expect too many yellow flags from them. Because of that, I still don't think everyone's going to be on the same strategy by lap 80.
And that's something I think you're absolutely right about. You know, these guys really are proven to be a good bunch of guys, especially from the race we saw on Tuesday. Only had 2 yellows during the main segment of the race and the green-white checker late. So, it really proves these guys how much, that experience comes into play, and how these guys race each other, knowing how long of a race it is and not being as aggressive early on, but still proving that this great racing we can expect from these guys is going to show through. And that's something I think we're going to see here tonight. While this Xfinity car, you can't go 2 and 3 wide, it's really scary when you do it. But something that these guys want to look out for is kind of the swaying that you see back and forth. If you notice, when watching some of these guys, they're in the middle of the pack, especially behind some people, they kind of sway going up and down off the corner. Now, it could be just driver skill and driver, what they usually do. But that's also a thing with this Xfinity car. The weight transfer. Because the difference in the ARBs and the way that this car handles, you're going to expect it to kind of slosh around a little bit. It almost feels like you're in the way, but we got someone in the wall.
It looks like he won on the wall back of the field. We're taking a look at it right now. Most of the field gets away as we're watching with Kendall Kerr, but look way back there. That was Colton Gardner, and Gardner is stuck there. It looks like he's going to go to the pit road immediately.
Yeah, from the way his wheel was turned, it almost looks like he had wheel problems. It looks like he will scrape the outside wall from turn 1 all the way down to the exit of turn 2. So it looks to me like he had a wheel issue because that thing was not moving away from the wall.
Yeah, we're looking at it. He was hard to the right, which I don't think any one driver would do on purpose. So maybe an in real life mechanical failure there, because it looks like he had no control at the time of the incident. Gardner's race already going to have some trouble. Luckily, nobody caught up in that. If he was on the inside and he hooked right, we would have seen a caution. But Colton was on the top side, nobody else involved, and just like that, I think his race is almost over. No fast repairs tonight. Keep that in mind. We are not going to have any second chances for these drivers. You get what you start with, and you want to keep it there till the end. New race leader, it's going to be Brad Kress, and the Blacktop Racing machine is at the top of the board. It's the Casey Kane throwback. Goes back about 9 years ago with that great clip Chevrolet, and you might think it's a little bit of a different paint scheme from usual, but the backstory of that car, if we're getting a little bit of a look at it, you might know how for Chase Elliott most recently, he had a car designed by a child who was part of cancer treatment. Now, you can see the sponsorship on the door when it flashes by, but this is a paint scheme standing against, of course, cancer, and we're going to see that throughout the year, commemorative paint schemes, and a lot of these drivers are going to bring those throwbacks out to, of course, speak on the issue, of course. So keep that in mind. Fighting against cancer tonight, Brad Crescent is number 9 to the point, and right beside him, league owner Toby Wedgwood looking strong, and we've got some veterans at the top of the board.
Yeah, I'd like to point out the Wedgwood duo did really good in Tuesday's race. You know, they found themselves up through the field throughout the beginning portion of the race, and now they find themselves Toby Wedgwood now fighting for the lead on that outside lane. And one thing we saw about the truck race is that no separate line, no individual line really had an advantage over the rest. We didn't see how sometimes you see with the next gen on a long run here at a plate track, you might see the top become more, more prominent. There's people like to go, it's what's called the Dale line. They get down to the top, tick down the laps, and try and get a run going for a long amount of time. That's not something we saw last race. While for a couple of laps, individual lines may have seemed like they were the right choice to go, we haven't seen that at all yet so far. We've seen some runs taken by the inside and some runs taken by the outside. But that parity in both of those lanes being extremely even is going to promote extremely good racing for the rest of the night.
They've been even, but you can see the outside is clearly shorter. You got to go back to Matthew Rodriguez to see the end of the outside line, and he's only in 20th out of 33 drivers who are still on the lead lap, technically in the draft. Save for Alan Cumming, who is actually off the draft, so make that 32. A majority of the field is staying on the bottom right now, but they are still very close and dead even. But Toby Wedgwood drops down low, and he's going to take the lead ahead of Brad Kress, so he chooses to abandon the top side, and he's going to make his way right down low. Biggest mover so far tonight, you got to look at Ryan Potter, and he was quick in that truck race, so I know you saw him there, Alex, and he's already up inside the confines of the top 5. He's made it up from 12th so far, and he's looking very good to gain a few more spots here. So when it comes to making those passes early from a deeper spot in the grid, how important is it for a driver to turn on the jets and get things going? Because he's now up to 3rd and pushing hard to keep Matt Muir up there.
Well, one thing I like to do is I'm a little bit more of an aggressive plate racer myself. I like to get up to the front of the field as quick as I can in about the safest way I can. I don't want to put myself in danger early on, as you know, we're only on lap 13 out of 80, so we've still got plenty of race left to run. And, he's found himself up to 4th, which is incredible field position. And while it's a plate track, field position matters everywhere, especially at Daytona. You make sure you want to be ahead or behind the wreck. You have time to either avoid it or you won't be in it at all. And you mentioned, how Toby goes down to the bottom, avoiding that topside lane. That's a really smart decision that I like. He understands that the guy behind him is going to get hot, pushing him, and he's giving him a chance to get air, to get temperature. And now look at them. They're controlling both lanes, and neither lane has moved.
Matt Muir going to be up top, as you mentioned. Toby Wedgwood lies down low, and he's got control on the bottom side. But look at that. Muir's got a much better run down the back straightaway, carries more speed on that higher side, as we've seen here at Daytona before, and he has an opportunity to take Ryan Potter with him down low. What's the call? He's going to stay up high for now, so he will not abandon Ryan Potter. I think for Wedgwood, it was a very good decision to get down low. However, that's something you got to keep in mind about these races. Every decision you make, these drivers are keeping a little mental log, making those notes of who you can race around and who you can be a better pusher with, you can be a little bit stronger with, who you are more confident with, and who you sometimes avoid. Potter now going to take it to the bottom side, and you'll see he's working for himself already. Matt Muir's trying to run that high side. Looks like he has no plans to leave it, but Potter's deciding to swoop down and under as Wedgwood goes right back top. So already decisions being made throughout the field here, and that's going to impact perception of these drivers. It might not seem like a lot right now, but when push comes to shove, you want to know who you can work with, because that's going to be a huge advantage in those final 5-10 laps when maybe not all hell breaks loose. They're very calm right now, but don't expect it to be 2x2 all race long.
You know, one thing you mentioned are these drivers taking a mental note of who they can really race around, how hard they can race around people. I, for one, usually take about the first 10-15 laps of a race to kind of feel out what everyone is doing, especially at a plate track like Daytona, where there's not much road to run upward and downward the track. You could go 3 wide and maybe even 4 wide if you could fit it at Daytona, but there's no room to avoid a spinner like there is at Dega. It's not as wide. So you really have to think about who you're racing around and how you're racing around someone. That early on experience that these guys get from the first 10-15 laps or so is really going to shape up the rest of this race as they understand who they can work with, who works with them well, and who to avoid on the racetrack.
And right now, one thing we're seeing is pack separation even within the confines of the top 15. Kendall Kerr is lying back just a bit right now, and it looks like he's going to drop back and try to keep that draft without being directly involved with the leaders. He's got some very strong drivers there with him too. Matthew Rodriguez, who, if you remember in season 15, he actually won the pole position for the Daytona race and then wasn't able to start on the pole. It was a tricky night for him from then on out, but he has speed here at Daytona. He won that in a dual-style qualifying run, which means you had to really race for your qualifying spot. Same as this season, too. You look at Corey Blevins, and you look at Tyler Hampton, who has a 50% career win rate coming into the night with only 2 starts coming last season. You got very strong drivers sort of lying back right now. They don't want to be involved in trouble, and they've decided to wait it out for the time being, understanding it's really not the best opportunity to go crazy, as Alan Cummin, the lap machine, is going to be up top. That is your season 15 champion, and tonight, not kicking off the season all too well, he'll stay high, and they're 3 wide for the first time, not only because of Cunman, but also because Toby Wedgwood immediately took it all the way up to the wall, and that's when you sort of crack the seal open. Whoever takes it first 3 wide, whether it's lap 18 or lap 80, they're the driver that really makes this from 0 to 100, I think.
Yeah, if you're the person to push it 3 wide, people know you're here to make a statement. And it's no different for any league or anyone that's racing. The man who makes it 3 wide definitely has, the strength and the power and the courage to go up to the front of the field no matter what it takes. And going 3 wide kind of this early on, as we're only about a fourth of the way through this race. We're still early on in this race, but, the power moves you make now really set up to how people think of you the rest of the run. And that's exactly what's happening at the front right now. Is Toby going to go down to the bottom? And is the 99 going to save it? Yes, he is, as they wreck behind him.
Oh, and that could have been a fantastic save. Ramirez is going to get tagged, not to mention Corey Blevins, and drivers are in pieces. Deitch is destroyed, not to mention you're also going to see Zellner barely get through. It is trouble for the first time tonight, and what looked to be an amazing save, that kicked off with Ryan Potter, is big trouble. Yellow flag is out. Let's take a look back immediately there. First caution of the day. Here is your instant replay on the matter. And you're going to see Ramirez, but that's actually a little too late. Now we're going to take a look from the start of this one. It starts with Ryan Hines, and it looks like Ramirez. They see Potter, they check up slightly, and when Ramirez gets touched, he gets shot up into Dylan Wedgwood, overcorrects, comes back down to the 25, gets knocked right back up, and he will collect the number 24 immediately thereafter. Kendall Kerr tags Kunman the lapper. Lucas Lodato gets destroyed too. Chad Winstead has to go high, and the caution's out. Big trouble here. Multiple strong drivers get involved. That is a shame. That could have been a huge wreck avoidance on all fronts, but just one minor wiggle, as you mentioned, Alex. That's a big difference for this race already.
Yeah, just about, fourth of the way through, and we have our first caution. So a really good run there at the start. That was really good. We saw these guys using both lanes up. They were racing really respectfully, and that's just a mistake. That's not really when it comes down to over-aggressiveness. That just comes down to a driver mistake. And, glad to see that some of the people avoided it, and we're probably going to get pit stops here, as we saw some interesting pit strategy Tuesday night as the first caution came out. About the top four didn't come down pit road. I don't expect to see the same thing here, as everyone's going to file it down pit road, so my suspicions are correct. But last night we saw interesting pit strategy, and the top 5 or so stayed out, and that tried to carry on throughout the pit strategy when we had that long green flag run in the middle. Not what we're seeing here, and I think I agree with the strategy, coming down right when the first yellow comes out.
It's a longer race. I think 30 laps more makes all the difference for these drivers. Mir's going to miss his stall just slightly. Brad Kress gets in. He's going to be solid. Look at how far stanced out guys like Kenny Brooks are. You can get really, really slanted and still make pit stops work. So Kress is actually going to get beaten out. Matthew Rodriguez is going to win off pit road. Then it'll be Brad Kress. Then it's going to be Matt Muir, Ty Smith, Dylan Petit, and Toby Wedgwood. They're your top 10. And further on back, you'll see Kenny Brooks, Dylan Wedgwood, Tyler Rush, Justin Gibbs, and Jimmy McKee. That's a huge shuffle up. Rodriguez gains big. That's going to move Matthew Rodriguez up from his starting spot of 27th up to, he's being scored now as the 5th place driver. So he's up 22 in the day so far with just one pit stop, making it a huge difference.
Yeah, some of these guys who are able to jump up through the field because of pit stops and stuff like this really is, kind of incredible. Tyler Snyder, we saw him in the race, in the truck race last night. And now look at him, Indy 87, leading the field ahead of Adam, I believe that's Adam Boss, and then Jacob Halm as well. So this top 3 all shuffled up to the front of the field, and we have a completely mixed up grid.
Adam Bozzi was a 2-time winner last season. He looks strong. Jacob Halm has been a veteran, multiple campaigns over the years. Tyler Snyder, he's a veteran too, but for those who have watched Highline exclusively on FTN, you might not know the name. However, he goes back to the seasons such as 11, 12, 13, prior to our time here in FTN. You might remember him from Max Speed TV or FTF when they were STN. Snyder's known this league for several years now. By no means is he a rookie. He's got experience, and that 87 is known to be quick. His Ford Mustang now leads the way as a result, and you'll see there, for the first time this season, Snyder already a leader. 1 lap to green this time through, 22 laps on the board. Michael Deitch is back on the way, but you can see he is destroyed. The front end is gone. He's going to try to maybe score a few more points and stay on the track. It's a big night. You do not want to lose points on this opener, if anything, so it's better for him to try and keep going than to give up immediately. But Deitch is going to have a long way from here to make it work. You'll also see Corey Blevins gets back on the way. He's the number 24 who got caught in the mix. And in addition, Scott Zellner, who is your defending champion, he scored 29th right now. He was the dominant man last season and was the best driver with the Gen 4s from our opening race at Charlotte last May. He was clearly the quickest. He took several races off and still won the championship last season. However, right now the championship is of course a huge toss-up with this new package. The question is, can Zellner maintain that performance? He started 24th. He is currently 29th on track and 28th last time by. So he's going to be one to watch. By no means do I think he's fallen off, but it's a different package, so we'll see whether or not he gets back up there anytime soon.
Yeah, and what I like to see out of the front of this field is that we've got a mix of people who are in the back who kind of want to play it easy and now who are at the front. And we've got a mix of some of the guys at the front just a few spots behind wanting to get back to that lead spot. So we might get a clash of ideas here in the front of the pack. And while that could lead to wrecking and that could lead to a bad thing, that could also lead to great racing. We saw our top 5 or so being now about 5 spots down from where they were previous to that caution coming out.
You know, when it comes to your top 5 right now, none of them started inside the top 15. Adam Bozzi was closest in 16th. Tyler Snyder, he started 30th. He's leading the way right now. Pace car's in. First restart of the season, led by a driver who started in 30th. Here we go. The last of first challenge is on for Tyler Snyder. He leads the way, and he's got Matthew Rodriguez, your winner off pit road, right behind him. That's a quick jump up, I'll tell you that much. He thinks the outside line's the way to go. Tyler Snyder to the top.
Being able to know how to control both of those lanes is really, really important, and that's what we're seeing out of Tyler right now. Being able to know when that run's going to come in that outside lane and knowing when to block. Like right now, he didn't go up there. He knew that run by the 27 and the 76 was too much to block. He has faith in the 51. He has faith that Matthew Rodriguez can push him now. The 27 finds himself clear now. The 76 as well. Jacob Halm trying to push him as they almost get into the wall. But look at that. Like as I said, 51 of Matthew Rodriguez all the way, pushing the 87 back to the front.
Now, Matthew Rodriguez is with Matt Muir tonight, those two drivers in a voice chat. Tyler Snyder on his lonesome, so he's trying to communicate with these drivers through the art of racing. Adam Bozzi also has his team with him tonight. Bozzi of Queen City Racing. That was the dominant team for the latter half of the season besides Scott Zellner himself. He's got Chad Winstead, Jacob Halm, and Lucas Lodano. But right now, Bozzi's on his own. His teammates not really around him, and we're going to have to see those teammates come together. Unknown in chat talking about Ty Smith and the chance for him to go back-to-back, and I think right now that comes down to whether or not Swamp Motorsports stays up in the front of the field as they were earlier with Ryan Potter and DJ Stagner. Additional shout-outs in chat. Dad Moose, Average Jams, great to have you guys here, and of course Terry Brooks coming by earlier, and we'd hope to have him back on the track very soon representing Westlake Royal Building Products. Tyler Snyder, Adam Bozzi, they're still first and second here, but Alex, we got drivers we have not seen up front today to this point. Jacob Halm, Chad Winstead, and Dylan Petit. Petit and Winstead are both multi-time winners in this league. Chad Winstead's victories came at Mid-Ohio in Season 14 and at Michigan in Season 16. For Dylan Petit, he won in both of those seasons, North Wilkesboro in Season 14 and at Phoenix last season. So these drivers are not necessarily known for winning at the super speedways, but they're up front right now. As a driver, what do you do to build that reputation, even if you're not well known as a plate guy, to show you can stick with the best of them and stay up front?
Well, knowing that, you may not seem as a plate guy or as a threat at plate tracks, you're going to want to do everything that you can to want to be at the front and kind of prove to the rest of the field that, even though you're not known for something especially and as a specialty as plate racing, you can hang with the big dogs. You can hang with the big guys here at the front of the field. And I think that's a good majority of what these guys are going to do. But you can just really see that wave of experience coming into play. Third through fifth, already some of those guys we saw early on in the top 5 back up to the front.
Ty Smith, one of which he'll drop down to the inside line, so he's going to be able to take it down to the bottom. Scored in second right now, only behind Matthew Rodriguez, but it looks like that's going to be no longer. Smith set to lead another set of laps tonight. He's back up to the top of the board, and at the stripe, he is your race leader again. Ty Smith and Matthew Rodriguez are now going to have the first 2 rows. Dylan Petit's now going to be pushing top. Tyler Snyder pushing down low. Still 2x2 for the majority of the field. You look back to Jimmy McKee, there's going to be a big space between he and Ryan Potter, and then they're starting to space out with guys like Caleb Morrissey, Austin Bloom, or Scott Wheeler, but still top 20, top 22, top 23. They're very close to one another for the time being, and I don't think that's going to change here. At least for the first half, expect that 2x2 to maintain. And we've seen green flag runs out of these drivers already, and we're once again getting back in the rhythm. So green flag pit stops maybe already coming into these drivers' minds. How can these drivers progress, understanding they might have to come down a pit road under green and keep their strategy alive with the pressure?
The pressure of leading, especially at a plate track, really might haunt and bear down on some people. But, you know, depending on the person, it could be you could be really stressed about leading, or you could find yourself ecstatic about leading. It's where you want to be, and it's where you belong. It's where you feel better instead of being congested behind a bunch of people in the back of the pack. And that's something we've seen out of this top 5 so far, is they've seen really being comfortable in the lead. They haven't made desperation moves. They haven't made any attempts to be too aggressive early on. They know exactly what they're doing and what moves to make. And we're seeing this out of this top 5, and that's something that can lead to a great race down the line.
And right now, looking at that great racing up in front, it looks like it's going to be Henry Kaloff in the chat room rooting for Michael Deitch tonight. Unfortunately, he's 5 laps down, and he actually has the front of his car back after a 5-minute pit stop, but he's going to be several laps down, and the pack is coming to get him down one more. So Deitch is going to be a lap machine in front of these leaders, and so far, largely stacked up 2x2 even still. Zellner, Wheeler, Morrissey, and Bloom. That's the 4 horsemen. Shelly Babinchak, great to have you back once again. And right now, of the 4 horsemen, the man who's running the highest in terms of our timing sheets, as we take a look further throughout, you'd have to look further back to the second half of the field. Right now, the 4 horsemen not running at the front of the pack. You'll see Caleb Morrissey's going to be 26th. Scott Zellner right now going to be 29th, behind Scott Wheeler in 28th. Then you look up, and it's Austin Bloom who's going to be in 27th. So right now, the 4 horsemen are running outside of the top 25. But they're a quick team. They are coming off of another championship, and they've had, of the last 5 championships, their drivers have won 3 of them. 2 with Wheeler, 1 with Zellner. So definitely a team to keep an eye out for, but they're lying back right now, and they look to be on their lonesome. Alex, when it comes to being out here further out of the draft, do you think there's something that they got to keep in mind? It's Michael Deitch.
Oh,
he
got a
just went around.
Got a spin in the back. Michael Deitch, I believe he goes around, as you said, brings out the caution one more time.
Oh, and Michael Deitch was a lapper by that point. He goes around. I don't know if he caught anyone else. I don't think he did. He tries to stay in the apron, comes back up, and then gets loose. The rest of the field looks like they got away just fine, but Deitch really cutting it close there, and that's a risky maneuver. He tried to get back on the throttle quick. I think he's on controller tonight, so it's very hard for him to judge those inputs. And again, trouble for Deitch. He's been involved in all 2 cautions, and this time I think he's the cause of it. Yellow flag is out again, 31 laps in.
Yeah, tough break early on when you know that, you know, maybe you've been the cause, or maybe you've been, you know, as long with the yellow the first 2 times. Not something that really brings up the spirits on throughout this race. Something he'll have to deal with now, but you know, he's got time to deal with it. They were only on lap 25 out of 80. Got a lot of road left to run for a lot of these guys in the field.
And right now, we got a lot of room to maybe go back to pit road. 31 laps in out of 80. Perhaps we see drivers top off. This could be the time to get another pit stop in and maybe make it a one-stop race from here. I think if these drivers want to go down a pit road, it would be best for them to do so. We'll see who tries to take it. Snyder looks to be staying out. Same goes for Smith, Rodriguez, and company. And nobody looking down except for the rest of the field. There goes Snyder. He'll go in late, and he'll take everyone with him. So they are going to make it down a pit road. See Ty Smith and company all coming in. It's another pit stop, and the rest of the field piles through. Ty Smith scored as your leader. Looks like just about nobody's going to stay out, and it's another full cycle in our second caution.
Yeah, I like this strategy. As many cautions as you get early on, get every chance to pit and every chance to fill up your tank as fast as possible. This really helps for strategy, especially in longer races like this. We may even see it come down to fuel.
That's a very fair point here. 32 laps in out of 80. This is going to get closer to going all the way. However, topping off is still not yet possible. We're seeing now Caleb Morrissey coming right at our camera. In addition, there's going to be Ryan Hines. And just beside Caleb Morrissey, Cody Bussard and Austin Bloom. The four horsemen are coming out a little later, three of which just came out. And the last of them is your defending champion in Scott Zellner. So with that being said, pit road cycle is complete. Ty Smith wins off of pit road. Michael Deitch stayed out because he was the cause of the caution. And Kendall Kerr is your new race leader. It's the Lucas Oil Chevrolet at the top of the board. And we've seen Kendall Kerr quick for several seasons now. Most recent victory came at Rockingham. Was fantastic in the second race of last season. I think we're going to see a lot more out of Kendall. I'll tell you this much. I think he's in the Blacktop Racing chat room right now. How about we get our race leader and have a word with Kendall Kerr? Let's get him in the broadcast booth right now. Kendall Kerr, you're our race leader, and we're coming up on that halfway point already here. How are you feeling so far with a lead 32 laps in?
Can't go anywhere, so I'm just trying to stay out and lead a lap and then come down here and top off. So that's all I'm doing. It's the only time you've seen the 21 in the picture probably today.
Well, you made it up here now, and you're coming back in, got that extra lap, got one lead, so you're making it through. Still a lot of time when it comes to strategy. So as you go to the back of the field, what's it going to take for you to perhaps get back up here when push comes to shove?
Well, just not blow through the pit box like that. But I think the third lane's going to come in pretty soon. And at that point, you know, it's going to be all hell breaking loose. So guys have been trying to sort of mind their own P's and Q's so far. It's been pretty refreshing, but we'll see what happens. Appreciate you guys up there in the booth, and looking forward to working with my Blacktop Racing teammates here.
Right, you got teammates around you, got a big field to work with. And the big thing that everyone's talking about is, of course, to switch back to these Xfinity cars. How does it feel with this Super Speedway package compared to the Next Gen or the Gen 4 that we've seen so recently?
The cars are totally different than the last time we ran them on Super Speedways. It seems like they push a lot better. They get a little bit bigger runs. And they're more stable to the ground, it seems. But they, as we learned in the duels, they blow up easier. So you might see a lot of guys pushing, but kind of peeking half their car out to get some airflow.
We're looking forward to seeing how that different formula comes into play. Kendall Kerr, you were leading when we got to you, but you're now back with the rest of the field, and we hope to see you charge throughout as the race goes on. Thank you for your time.
Anytime. Thank you, boys.
Kendall Kerr on the way. Alex, he was your leader, but that's no longer the case. It looks like now, once again, the field in the hands of Matthew Rodriguez and Ty Smith. So pace cars coming in. Time to get back to the racing. And your truck winner is still at the top of the board.
Pace car is going to come down pit road now as we enter the Geico restart zone. We'll be back going green again from Daytona International Speedway, and it's Ty Smith to lead him at the line, quickly followed up by Matthew Rodriguez, who got a great jump now, push from the 9, back to the rear bumper of the 18. That's Brad Kress getting to the back bumper of Ty Smith, helping him out, entering turn number 1. Dylan Pote as well. He finds himself on that top side lane, helping the 51 of Matthew Rodriguez, who initially got a good jump, but a strong enough help from the 9 led Ty Smith to take that run. But now here he comes again with help from Dylan now, as he'll go back up to the top side lane, and he'll go side by side with Ty Smith going down the backstretch.
Neck and neck for the race lead as it stands. Still Ty Smith and Rodriguez. Matthew Rodriguez really made a great move there on the first pit stop cycle, and it's kept him up front ever since. Now coming closer to our halfway marker, he's up at the top of the board and is set to lead this lap as he comes across the stripe just past Ty Smith. They're nose to nose, and the top 10 is breaking away ever so slightly. You look back to 11th place in Toby Wedgwood. He's about 0.4 of a second back, and there's a bit more separation in the front runners and those on back now. All of a sudden, starting to see more and more drivers begin to back off once again, which has been a common theme so far tonight. Our incidents starting with one or two drivers and then ending up catching others. So a lot of calm, clean racing despite the caution count slowly building up. And I think those have been more anomalies than anything else. Rodriguez now has the lead. New driver leading down low. That's Connor Holden. And now it's going to be Connor and his teammate Ty Smith working with each other on the bottom side. Looks like Swamp Motorsport coming back into play. And it's not the 18 with the lead down low anymore. It's the number 81. Holden's going to be on the bottom side. Rodriguez is still top. And right now, we're going to look at guys like Matt Muir, Brad Cressor, still looking on at this battle. Even Justin Gibbs. This is a great opportunity to get those laps up in front as everyone's shuffling for the lead. Taking it back, relaxing a bit more, and getting to grips with being in this pack. A bit of a learning experience for everyone right now, especially before the final 10-15 laps.
You know, and you mentioned here Connor Holden, the new face here up at the front of the Premier Series. We saw him up at the front of the Truck Series race just a couple of days ago, and he was charging his way through the field, found himself up at the front when it mattered, and he looked really strong up front then, and he looks to be carrying that momentum now as Dylan Poteet's going to go down to the bottom, and now Connor will have to push him now, as Poteet now goes to the bottom, stretches away from Matthew Rodriguez, and wants to take this lead back, as it's a two-car breakaway to the lead. Now Matthew will have help there from the 70 of Matt Muir, who behind him wants to push him back to the front. Matt Muir has been pushing a lot of people on that outside lane, looks really comfortable there this whole run. Every time he's pushed someone up there, they've almost either gone to the front, gotten close, or they've passed the leader on the bottom. So he really has that locked in on the top, and he really is pushing all those people, and now he has even more help from the 48 behind.
Matt Muir looking really strong, and you also see Jimmy McKee coming up. It looks like now McKee's help can really push these drivers to where they need to be on that top side. Dylan Poteet now has the race lead, and it's going to be the big red 31 taking the big position up in front, leading for the first time tonight, and looking for what would be his third career Highline Racing League win when all is said and done. Matthew Rodriguez is still going to come down the back straightaway, just about dead even here, and keep in mind, Connor Holden right there as well. Now, we're also seeing Alan Cummin is back with these drivers. You might have remembered, Cummin got caught up in the first caution and was put a lap down. He was 33rd on the track. The only driver who was behind him was Colton Gardner, who disconnected as soon as the race got going due to that wheel disconnection failure. But now Cummin is in 9th, and he's turned his race around rapidly already and is inside the top 10. It's been a big comeback night, even if he's only gained 4 spots from his qualifying position.
Yeah, and some of these guys, you know, who have kind of found their way up from the back to the front seem to be doing well so far, and some of these guys who started at the front as well are really kind of trying to have to work their way back up to where they were. With some of these guys who, you know, we may not have seen at the front so far, really stating their name and staying in their places. They're here to lead, and they're here to be at the front of the field, is what we're seeing here from the 51 and the 81. They make their way to the front of the field, as well as Dylan Poteet, who still leads that bottom side lane with help there from Connor Holden on that bottom side lane. Matthew Rodriguez still having help there from the 70 and Matt Muir on that top side lane. Those two have been real comfortable so far.
And comfort up in front. It stayed that way. 40 laps in of 80. We're coming to the halfway point next time by, and we've had a quick 40 laps to get things going. Holden is now going to be right behind Dylan Poteet. We're also looking at Matt Muir, Brad Kress, Jimmy McKee, and Justin Gibbs. Not to mention, there's also Toby Wedgwood and Kenny Brooks all coming together. Tyler Rush has been on the outskirts of this leading battle all throughout the night to this point, and he's been right there waiting in the wings. He's been one of the calmer drivers up at the front of the field. A lot of the times, these drivers who get so close to the lead have the tendency to start pushing more and more and more. We haven't seen it from most drivers yet tonight, but for Tyler Rush, he's been solidly on the outskirts of the top 10 all throughout the night from the very beginning. Matter of fact, he started 9th. He's currently in 12th, so he's lost spots overall. However, he really hasn't lost all too much, and it means he's still in about the same range as when he got things going to begin with. The one driver who's behind him now, or actually side by side, is Cody Bussard in that number 12, who started in 32nd. He's up to 13th, and it's the first time we've seen that Buckeyes Ford Mustang on the broadcast tonight. Big moves for the driver who's sponsored by the future Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, and I want to point out here that, Texas gets, a lot of hate for not being that great of a racetrack with a racing product. But, if you've ever been, and I plan on going here for the spring race in April, but if you ever do plan on going, I've heard the facilities are great. So while the racing may not be so good, but it is experience for a fan is sure to be one to remember. And sure to be one to remember is going to be this race as well, as we've been seeing all this racing up at the front of the field and the racing mixing in the middle and the back half of the pack as well. Some of these guys choosing to be more conservative and making a bigger gap, trying to avoid the wrecks when and if they come. And it's been kind of an opposite story for the front pack so far. While they've been racing enough with great respect, they've also been pretty aggressive. As the laps start to wind down, we're just about past halfway. And so some of these guys, maybe those filters are going to start to come off, and they're going to be a little bit more aggressive here coming towards the race's end.
That's one thing about Daytona. You really can't make the argument that this track should really be replaced in any sense. It has its character. It's been iconic for decades, and that's why these drivers continue to come here. One thing I want to highlight, since we're talking about the characteristics of the racing, we're coming up on turns 3 and 4 right now, and I'll tell you this much. If you've been to Daytona and you've had the opportunity to walk on the track, the cameras here on iRacing in the real world, they do not really capture the magnitude of this banking. Look at the drivers roaring by our camera right now. Let's move that camera. Let's get it into place, and let's show you how it would look like if you were on the ground level. Take it right back here, and it goes to show how steep this circuit is. Right now, we're on the apron, and it almost looks like a fully vertical climb up. For drivers, they might not be thinking about it virtually, but it is a huge ascent, and that banking over 30 degrees of which is certainly undeniably a Daytona characteristic, and it's even prominent on the tri-oval. And now they're right down the back straightaway all over again. But when you come down the front stretch, you even try to walk on the tri-oval right atop the start-finish line. That's a challenge. Can you imagine trying to go up the banking here in the corners? It's unbelievable how unique Daytona is, especially since it's been this way now for just short of 65 years.
And as you mentioned that, what happened there in the middle of the pack, we got some shuffling now as the 70 of Matt Muir hit the wall and started to scrape back behind. Couple of shuffling as now he leaves the outside lane. That's Jimmy McKee there on the 48 SP Designs machine. He snuck his way through the middle and was able to cut his way through the pack. A couple of guys are getting involved and dropping back as well. The 70 now finds himself in that 12th position. Matt Muir had a little bit of a trouble kind of skating through there 3 wide, found himself scraping the wall. He's in the back half of the top pack right now. As to the apron goes the 48. He'll get loose, and it's a carbon copy of what happened earlier. He'll start to slide, and so does the 9, and I don't think they'll save it. Yes, he does.
Jimmy saves it, but does the rest of the field? It looks like just barely. Everyone slows down. Everyone keeps going. Jimmy McKee's back on the way, but that is the grand opening. Parts the seas, and Jimmy McKee's now going to be way back in about the 15th spot. Huge difference. He's now going to fall back to 17th, matter of fact, and you can see McKee sliding. The field slows down to get away from him, and that's going to make it a very small pack up in front. That's a big, big game-changing moment here. You can see how far the field is spread apart. Dylan Petit is your new race leader, and he's got a very few to work with as Matthew Rodriguez goes 3 wide. It's a small pack up in front, and now it's time to find out which of these drivers can pull away and maybe build on the advantage they now have. I mean, it's a 10-driver pack up in front. Rest of the field does not have draft tier leaders. It's going to be a very short field if we keep it under green here. This is game-changing, and it looks like we've got a chance to maybe go for green flag pit stops.
Dylan Poteet being really aggressive now. He was the one who cut it up through the middle there, split it 3 wide, and was able to find some time and to find a gap. And now he goes. He tried to go down for the block with the 81, was unsuccessful. And finds himself in the top side lane with Matthew Rodriguez. And it doesn't look like the 81 is going to have the help that he really needs to try and hold him off. Dylan Poteet, with help from the 51, is going to try and make the move work. Again, if he gets clear off of 4, he's going straight down to the bottom as now the 81 makes a charge back coming off of 4.
Looking on board now with Dylan Poteet. Look how close Tyler Rush is. Of course, Connor Holden right there too. He's beside your leaders on the inside line. He has Matthew Rodriguez right behind. A lot to look at here for Dylan Poteet. That back bumper and the rearview mirror, it is full of talent. The best of the best who got away from that incident are now in the fight. You'll see Turtle Shells Motorsports represented by Tyler Rush, Toby Wedgwood right there too. The inside, they get the advantage immediately coming off the corner, but then they get the power down the back straightaway on that outside line, and they stay neck and neck. It's been a very even race on all fronts when it comes to those two lines, and the side draft in iRacing has really improved over the past year. Not only are you getting the advantage by side drafting the competitors around you, but you're actually slowing down those drivers you're side drafting off of. So when it comes to those drivers who are on the outside line, who are side drafting those who are lower, then it come down the back straightaway, it's the outside that has the speed, not only because they're coming off of the banking with a little more time up top, it's because that side draft is working with dirty air to make it a bit more challenging for a guy like Dylan Poteet to keep the lead. And take a look at how Matthew Rodriguez barrels back to make it side by side. By the time they go to 3 and 4, they're neck and neck again. Even if Rodriguez is almost a car length out, he gets back there no matter what.
And one thing you mentioned with the side draft is it's a little bit of a misconception. You're not actually really gaining a whole lot of speed as you are equalizing the speed of the two lanes. If you notice, every time someone goes down to side draft, it's almost as if the person that they're side drafting starts to slow down as you try to still gain speed. You're really equalizing the speed of both lanes, as why when someone goes to finish up a side draft, say going into the corner, going out of the corner, they always break away. That way they don't have the effect gone back onto them, and that way they avoid the effect as much as possible. You can see there on the backstretch, these two lanes are spread wide apart. No one trying to side draft as hard as possible, as they're confident with the help they have behind them. But you notice in the corner, they start out high and then they start to come back down low, seeing if they can squeeze both lanes and make them equal speed, especially when Matthew Rodriguez is right up to the side of Dylan Poteet.
And you're taking a look there at Matthew Rodriguez. It's exactly as you described. He'll stay way high to start it, come down slowly but surely lower, and he's guiding the inside line and the outside all at once. Right now, the outside is very, very short. You go to Dylan Wedgwood, who's going to be in the back of this leading pack. There's also Kendall Kerr, Ty Smith, and DJ Stagner. Ryan Potter getting up there too. It's 14 drivers in the leading group. Alan Cummin's also trying to bridge the gap, but besides Cummin, nobody else has a chance to run up in front. You take a look at that second pack who are coming in hot. That's Adam Bozzi and company, but they're 7 seconds back on the leader of Matthew Rodriguez, and then there comes a third pack, and it's going to be right behind Roberto Ramirez. It's going to be the Four Horsemen. It looks like Bloom got away just a bit more so. He's going to be the leading Wheeler, Mortis, and Zellner. Michael Deitch, who is 6 laps down, also running with the Four Horsemen right now as he tries to go around the circuit, and maybe if he got a caution or two, we'll be able to make some time back up, make some laps back up. 29 laps to go this time by. Dylan Poteet is going to have the advantage over Matthew Rodriguez. It's Connor Holden still third, and these drivers have all held on to their lines respectively. Very calm for the most part. Nobody's trying to take it 3 besides Alan Cummin, and I think that's the first real attempt of someone making that third line work. There goes Cummin on the top side. He's trying to get right by Dylan Wedgwood, but he's squeezed up top and does not have a lot of room.
Yeah, if you're going to really make a move, you really want to make it through the middle. If you're going to make it 3 wide, unless you don't have help, if you don't have help, you're going to want to shoot it 3 wide up the middle. That's where you're going to get the side force from both lanes, and it's going to essentially almost pull you through up as long as nobody blocks you. Making a move on the outside is very tough. If you're on your own and you don't have help, it's one of those things that you really almost just can't do by yourself. You're going to need to have someone pushing you, and you're going to have a strong run if you want to put it against, because you're fighting not only the air resistance as you're the leading car, you're fighting both of the power of both the inside lanes, because you're effectively now the outside most lane. So you have to fight your way up through the field. So making a pass 3 wide around the outside without any help is a really bold move, and in some circumstances, it can work, especially like what we saw with the trucks. You can do it there, but trying to do it in this Xfinity car is a little more challenging.
Connor Holden back to the point. He's been able to master the challenges so far. 27 laps to go. He'll take you to the point. And one driver we want to look back at, Tyler Hampton. We mentioned that he's the most recent Highline Racing League winner in the Premier Series, winning at Homestead in only his second career start. And right now, he's backing up the hype, running in the 9th position. So far, a very solid day for Tyler as he runs within the confines of that top 10. All things considered, we haven't seen all too much of him in terms of a full-size sample, so this is one of those nights where he gets to prove himself even more so. He's got the win, he's got that out of the way, but now it becomes more so about building that trust on a consistent basis, because in all honesty, when it came down to Homestead, the battle was all about the title fight. So for Tyler Hampton, he was able to prioritize his win, get away from the action throughout the field, and end up not necessarily cruising, but certainly had an easier time than if it was opening of the season like it is right now. He's got all the competition in the numbers and in the talent to fight against, and still 32 drivers are on the track, 30 are on the lead lap going back to Scott Zellner. So these drivers by no means have given in, and it's a much bigger car count than what we've seen in the past season and a half. So he's got a lot of drivers to work with tonight and a lot more to impress, so to speak, because now he's got the Wedgwoods right up top, Toby and Dylan respectively. You looked up just ahead, Alan Cummin, he's got his teammate Ken Loker. Blacktop Racing is coming together too. You're also seeing Dylan Petit right now. He's been working very well with Matthew Rodriguez, and those two drivers have been working alongside each other. The Misfit Mafia also coming through. You have Jacob Hum further back. Justin Gibbs up here right now. Matt Muir and Connor Holden looking to make it 4 consecutive Daytona wins for Swamp Motorsports. The teams are all coming together right now and at the most important time.
You know, and you mentioned that some of the people further back in the field, that's something I wanted to talk about. The 18, the 64, and the 99, all here in the back, Ty Smith, DJ Stagner, and Ryan Potter. These guys were leading the field earlier, and so in the truck race. These three really know how to race and how to split through the field when it comes to plate track racing, and these guys are at the caboose of this main pack right now. So a bit of a mix in different thought processes here as we're on lap 57 out of 80. Now the lap's winding down, nearing about 23 laps to go. And these guys are probably expecting another wreck to possibly happen here at the front. They're kind of just sitting back behind a nice gap between the car in front of Ty Smith. That's the number 5 machine of Tyler Hampton. And next to him is the duo of the Wedgwood brothers, Toby Wedgwood and Dylan Wedgwood. These two have been working their way up through the field, and we saw Toby leading earlier, made a mistake in which caused the first caution of the race, as he'll go 3 wide up the middle. So Toby Wedgwood cutting it 3 wide up through the middle, splits the move on the 51 of Matthew Rodriguez, who was trying to lead that outside lane. Wasn't too successful there later in the run. Oh, and we got trouble. We got people up in the wall, got people spinning on the apron. Kenny Brooks involved as well as the 5 hits a lick to the outside wall, and the caution is going to wave.
Tyler Hampton, Toby Wedgwood, and it is huge trouble up in front. Yellow flags out for the 3rd time tonight, and this one will bring the field back to rest. Looks like Hampton not happy about that one. Kenny Brooks, he's going to kick it off with Toby Wedgwood, and then Tyler Hampton caught a piece, and it looks like that's when everything got dicey. Then Hampton came up to Matt Muir and goes around spinning. Caution is out as a result, and Wedgwood going to be able to dodge it right there. Just don't think Hampton had control. You can see how much damage he has in particular. There's Toby Wedgwood. Matthew Rodriguez, the hood has been popped. And Kenny Brooks, as we mentioned, he kicked it off. He spun around, but he looks to be in much better condition than those who got contact with them. Yellow flag, 22 laps to go. And we're going to take it back live right now. And you'll see time to get the field racked up again. I think we're going to see almost everyone come down to pit road this time by.
Yeah, we had a long green flag run, similar to the way the race kind of worked out in Tuesday. You know, we had a long green flag run in the middle, had a caution there, not exactly late in the race, But coming towards the end, we had a caution, another green flag run, and then a green-white checkered. So I believe we're following near enough the same path. And right now that caution brings out, I believe, the second caution of the night. Or no, sorry, the third caution of the night. I believe the 2 cautions earlier we had. This makes it the third caution. And honestly, though, this race has been really clean. The amount of respect that these guys have racing for each other is really something to see. You know, these guys really racing with respect, and it really hasn't come down to someone being too greedy. It has just come down to the nature of driver mistakes, with how much pressure there is going into Daytona, especially with the season opener. You know, you got to wonder how much pressure are all these guys under to perform.
Pressure to perform in the moment is going to be even more so in these final few laps. Yellow flag flying again, and we now have ourselves 21 laps to go. Going to be a quick one for some of these drivers. You can see Brad Kress already is going to be on the way, and coming out of pit road right now, the race is on. It looks like at the line, Justin Gibbs going to be quickly following as he gets out of the way of the number 93. You'll see Kunman, Rush, Petit, Stagner all shuffling further up, and as it stands, your winner off of pit road looks to be, officially speaking, Kendall Kerr. Taking a look at him, he's going to be just behind Justin Gibbs and Connor Holden. So Holden got back on the way first, then Gibbs, then Kendall Kerr. Ryan Potter going to be held in 4th. So that's a big run through pit road that time by. And they're coming up on Corey Blevins in the number 24. Pace car lights are still on. But 21 laps to go. That's how they roll. So far, Connor Holden once again taking it back to the lead.
Yeah, and that caution really changed up a few things as now the field comes back together again. We saw that this kind of front pack had stretched out from, you know, what was about 22 cars there. Then we had the wreck. Half the field saved it, and the other half did as well, but found themselves falling back. And so we had about a 13-14 car front pack and then another 10-car pack behind. This caution changes everything. It brings these 2 packs back together, and we will have another full pack again when we cross the line to get ready to go racing one more time around, being the 3rd restart of the night. Connor Holden back up to the lead, as well as in the front, too, we've got Justin Gibbs. Kendall Kerr, who we spoke to earlier, he said he wasn't going to be up in front of the field, but would you look at that? Caution comes out, finds himself 3rd.
Big gains once again for Kendall Kerr. Shoes rule going to be in effect, the apron or the wall. That's going to be the choices for the drivers, so let's see who chooses what. Down at the bottom, it's going to be Connor Holden. You'll see immediately Justin Gibbs went high. Looks to be the normal high-low procedure for most every driver. Nobody picking anything crazy as they come by our choose camera. Casey Heschel goes down to the bottom. Almost Kenny Brooks taking out our camera. But the rest of the field gets going. Last driver to decide was DJ Stagner. And just like that, the choose rule put into effect. Looks like no violations. Connor Holden is your leader. With 19 laps to go this time by, we were going to crank it up with 22 laps remaining. However, as always, courtesy of our friends and partners at TrackCams22.com, we'll be cranking it up on this restart. With over 100 car and track camera combinations for your iRacing needs, TrackCams22.com is the best place to go for broadcasting cameras, sim racing photography cameras, anything you need, they've got it. Visit Facebook.com/TrackCams or TrackCams22.com for TrackCams for gourmets. The iRacing platform's leading camera distributor will be cranking it up this time by with 19 laps to go as we get ready to rumble once again here in Daytona. Connor Holden looked very strong in the past 20 laps, Alex. And before we get to the crank it up, do you think there's anything that this number 81 should look out for as we come down to the final stretch?
Well, I was going to look down to see a lot of these guys being really aggressive now as, you know, we've come to the end. And, you know, when we come to the end of Daytona at any race, it's going to be aggressive. But you said that we didn't have any infractions. Actually, we did. Adam, the number 27 machine, cut it back just a smidge too late and was not close enough to the apron or the wall to any discernible spot. He'll take an EOL and he'll go back to the back of the field.
Bozzy with a late penalty there, so it looks like he will not be able to get away with his choose cone style. He'll have to keep that in mind as the season goes on. First race, so there's still a lot of time to learn. 19 laps to go this time by. Green flag will get things going again. 19 laps to go. Let's crank it up with TrackCams22.com. Huge stack up, yellow flag will fly. It's a track blocker, and it's going to be just about the back half of the field. Yellow flag will fly with 16 laps to go. It's big trouble, and the caution is out. Let's take a look now and find out what caused it as we're taking an FTN instant replay. Here we go again with trouble. Crank it up's over, and here's a look at it. Huge stack up. You saw Hines, you saw Brad Crest involved, and we're going to take that instant rewind to take a further look at what caused it here. Looked to be front of the field. They were going 3 wide, Casey Heschel, but it starts with Hines and Caleb Morrissey. Hines bounces up the track, sends it back down to Chad Winstead. Heschel is going to tap Austin Bloom, then Roberto Ramirez, DJ Stagner, Dylan Body, Kenny Brooks, and Scott Zellner all get involved at once. Yellow flag is out. It is huge trouble here at the track, and just like that, the caution's out for the 4th time tonight.
Yeah, and that wreck included about 12 cars there as well. So that was one of the larger wrecks we've seen. Still, I believe, doesn't come close to the final wreck that we had on Tuesday's race, where it literally collected, I think, almost every car in the field minus about 2 or 3. But that was one of the bigger wrecks we've seen here tonight.
I think it would have to be the biggest here with 15 laps to go. That's going to collect a lot of strong drivers once again. We're looking right now. Toby Wedgwood's on pit road. Michael Deitch is back on the way. Rodriguez still has big damage, and those who got involved are going to have to limp around and come into pit road. That's the biggest wreck we've seen, I think, by far tonight. Maybe one of the biggest in all of Highline Speed Weeks besides what we saw on Tuesday here. And it's time to find out who goes into pit road, as it's going to be another opportunity to shuffle in. Connor Holden is going to fake it. He will not go down to pit road. So your leaders with 15 coming to 14 to go, they decide to stay out. Casey Heschel will come in this time by. He's going to make the move in. Not too far behind. You're going to see it looks to be Dylan Body coming through. We saw Kenny Brooks, Scott Zellner, and Roberto Ramirez. Also Ryan Hines, Brad Crest, and DJ Stagner. They'll all come in together. So we're going to see about a quarter of the field that's left coming into pit road as a result of that substantial damage.
Yeah, so a lot of these guys, they're in the back of the pack, thinking that they might be able to skate away with avoiding a wreck that might have happened in the front of the pack, came out with a cause of surprise as that wreck started in the middle of the pack. So, but I bet you a lot of those guys who were trying to, avoid the trouble and avoid the late race yellow that we might have, looking to be on their heads after that late race caution that we just had.
That's certainly going to turn some heads here. At the front of the field, I think they got to wonder, are we going to see some chaos in what would be the final 12 laps? We'll be coming back to green with 12 laps to go. It's going to be Connor Holden, Justin Gibbs, Ryan Potter, Kendall Kerr, and Tyler Rush. That is your top 5 as it stands. Alan Cummin is going to be 6th. Dylan Petit is in 7th. Tyler Snyder is in 8th, and Dylan Wedgwood. Then in 9th, it's going to be Caleb Morrissey, who rounds out the top 10. And right now, a lot of very strong front runners. Connor Holden from 15th to 1st tonight. And for Kendall Kerr, 20th up into 4th. Tyler Snyder, 30th to 8th right now. Looking at all our big movers. One driver who's maintained the most consistency inside the top 5, it is Tyler Rush from 9th to 5th. And it looks like now he's actually on the upswing. He's not in the back half of the top 10 no longer. He now finds himself up there fighting to stay for the lead battle, so we'll keep an eye out for him. An interesting trend is right now the drivers who's qualified 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, they're all outside of the top 15, and Ty Smith, the highest of all of them, he's in 19th right now, so qualifying position really not meaning all too much, as a lot of these drivers who started up front are not there right now.
Yeah, so we've got another mix-up as well. That caution is going to change up the field quite some margin again. A lot of those guys who were sitting in the back who eventually actually made it through that wreck now find themselves up in the upper half of the middle pack. And so now with these guys now shuffled all around, it's going to be an interesting mix-up. And look ahead now. The 21 who thought he wasn't going to be up there in through the front of the field finds himself 4th. So once again, a caution helping him out.
It's a big chance right now to take advantage of that yellow flag. 68 laps in, out of 80. They're coming down to 69. Connor Holden is your leader. He's got Ryan Potter right beside him, and the iRacing official pace car is set to leave yet again. This is only your 4th caution of the day, so overall a very clean race. However, we are starting to get down to that section where you begin to think maybe in the final dozen laps, people get a bit crazier. We're no stranger to seeing action tonight. I think that might happen yet again. So Holden's got to keep a watch out for it. The rest of those leaders, too, they've got to keep an eye, of course, up front. But the rearview mirror is going to mean a lot more tonight as well as we come through this time by. It's going to be 12 laps to go, a dozen to do it.
It's going to be an interesting restart here as a lot of these guys are itching to get going again after that long green flag run. Had a caution now that slows them back down again. So a lot of these guys really wanting to get their foot down and keep going again as it was just before. But with this mix-up now, indeed, it's going to change things around quite a bit as the pace car going to make its dive down onto pit road as this field is going to go to the Geico restart zone. Leading the field, Connor Holden, Ryan Potter, Justin Gibbs, and Kendall Kerr, the top 4 to take the start of the stack up there on the inside. The 93 got a slow getaway, and this will allow Ryan Potter, with help from the 21, to get that run up on the high side. Wasn't able to connect in the beginning. The 81 and the 93 of Justin Gibbs wasn't able to connect on that restart. Not able to get that run that they wanted. Able to connect now throughout the middle of the corner, but it might just be a tad too late as now the 21 has a firm push on the 99 of Ryan Potter on that high side. Ryan Potter will now clear the 81, and so will the 21, not quite. And now the 81 fights back on the bottom. A lot of these guys going to the wall as now they try and make that second lane just as strong as the bottom. A battle for the lead as we get ready to cross the start-finish off the first lap of the restart. Give it to the number 81 of Connor Holden, who's able to hold off a mighty charge from the 99 of Ryan Potter.
Lap 69 going to be led by Connor Holden. Nicely gets back up to that race lead, and it's going to be Justin Gibbs now right behind him. Took a lap to get going, but as we mentioned, these two drivers who didn't get the best of starts down low are once again in control. And now we're coming down to that final stretch here. 10 laps at Daytona. They come and go very, very quick. So expect these drivers to now be managing their stuff a little less in terms of caution. It's going to be a bit more aggression from the back half of the field, we still have a total of 27 on the lead lap, and I don't think anyone here has come to lose. They're all going to fight to get up there at the checkered flag, and right now, Connor Holden and Justin Gibbs, while they have it, the rest of the field, they're still looking. You're going to see right now drivers like Chad Winstead, middle of the pack, trying to make things happen. There's now going to be a 3-wide push. Alan Cummin takes his teammate and Ken Looker right up top, and once again, Alan Cummin trying something 3-wide, and now with 10 laps to go, I think we're going to start seeing drivers more and more use that extra lane because there's little time and you got to make moves to get up in front. Why not try something new? I think the outside line is going to come into play a bit more now in these final laps.
A lot of aggressive moves now as this middle line tries to get something done. The top side lane starting to fall back as well. It's the 21 and the 4 car as they will fall back throughout the field. Alan Kahneman unable to make it work as the 93 now goes topside with the 99 of Ryan Potter. He'll slot back down to the middle lane now as he tries to control both lanes. This third lane is now starting to come up and show they have extra help. The 70 of Matt Mir, I'm just hearing, has temps that are skyrocketing and has to pull back. And what does this mean for the rest of the field here up at the front? We've got guys pushing that have been pushing for a long time. When are they going to start peaking for air? They've got not a lot of room to peak. They're 3 wide now, 4-5 rows back. And it's going to be interesting to see how this race plays out. A lot of people expecting a wreck now as the things getting aggressive here, coming down to about 7 laps to go. It's going to be a big shakeup as now from the lead, all the way we've got a massive wreck in the back. That's going to be another caution.
Winstead, Dylan Wedgwood, Jamie McKee, all going to be involved. 8 laps to go. This could be the final caution of the race as we now have ourselves just before overtime territory. Yellow flag is out yet again, and we're going to take a look right back on this one. Winstead and McKee, and it looks like a few more are going to slow down substantially. So let's take a look back here. They were going 3 wide. The outside line was coming into use, and it kicks off here with Dylan Wedgwood, I believe, as you'll see. He's the middle 3 wide on this instant replay, and he skirts up high, touches McKee, bobbles back and forth. McKee catches, then Winstead again, and those 3 drivers get the worst of it, spinning out of the way. Not much major damage for the 3 of them, but either way, going to be substantial in terms of the change of pace in this event. Caution's out again. That's for the 5th time, and now it's 7 laps to go. I think we're going to be coming back with only 4 laps remaining.
As we saw how aggressive they were on that restart, we had about 7 laps to go when we restart. It's going to be about 4 to 3 laps to go. So these guys really going to be shaken up, and a lot of these guys not really happy with how many wrecks we're having back-to-back. Some of these guys really kind of frustrated, especially with some of the actions they're following in the middle of the field. And it's not out of spite. You know, a lot of these guys, you're not wrecking to wreck at Daytona when you have such a chance to get a win on the line to open up the season. Again, it's all just down to driver error and miscommunication. But tempers can flare at any track, and Daytona it's absolutely no exception to that rule, with a lot of these guys getting their tempers, and they're starting to raise up now as we get to the last portion, the laps winding down. Some of these guys are going to be more aggressive than the rest.
That is for certain now. Coming around with 7 laps to go. I think pit cycles have just about ended for tonight's race. And tell you this much, we got a little bit of time before we get back to the action. So we'd like to thank tonight's sponsors, and that is Westlake Royal Building Services and Admin Box. We'll be right back after a brief promotional break, courtesy of our friends at Westlake and Admin Box. And we'll be back before the 1 lap to go signal. You're watching the Highline Racing League at Daytona, and we will return after these messages.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Returning with 1 lap to green, we're going to have ourselves a 4-lap dash for the rest of the way. For those of you just tuning in, this is the Highline Racing League Premier Series, and this is the Westlake Royal Building Services 200. Back on the way right now, 5 laps to go, but it's going to be 4 when we get things going again, and now we're really in that point of no return territory. We can only have 1 more caution after this no matter what, because we'll send ourselves into overtime. We only have 1 green-white checkered attempt. So Alex, we've now made it to the final section of this entire night. It all comes down to this and maybe 1 more caution, but that's very unlikely regardless. So how do you think it's going to play out here as we look forward to what might be the wildest ride of the entire Speed Weeks this February?
Well, things are going to get aggressive fast. You don't have a lot of time to make your move, and you want to make it, and you want to make it fast. These guys are going to have to take up all that track position that they have. They're going to want to take every run possible to get to the front. But a common phrase is we've got a couple laps more than green-white checkered. Leads at Daytona don't last. So you don't want to take the lead too early on, and it really comes down to how much a driver knows plate racing to know when to take the lead and when to make that move up to the front, when it's going to be perfectly timed out for them to lead the lap that counts in the end.
Now it's time to find out who can come into the clutch. Justin Gibbs, who had a career best finish last season at Daytona, he might be looking to best that career tie and maybe soar to new heights tonight. It's Gibbs on the front row alongside Ryan Potter. Potter and his teammate are lined up on the high side. DJ Stagner's a few rows back, but he's there too, also on top. 4 laps to green this time by, and we are back on the move. Potter's on the high side. He's got Gibbs down low, and we return to action.
And, you know, like I said, these guys are going to want to shuffle and get aggressive early, and that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing people peek to the inside middle, trying to split at 3. The 6, Caleb Morrissey, wants to split at 3 as well. He goes to the outside, no help. I think he might fall back here on this attempt now, but this inside lane working really strong together here with Dylan Poteet. Now, as long as well with the 93 of Justin Gibbs, Ryan Potter leading that outside lane as well. These two going to be shuffled up with each other. And that's the 64 of DJ Stagner trying to make it work on that outside lane. Caleb Morrissey goes to the top once again. He might go with the 64 now. DJ Stagner, he doesn't look like he'll be able to jump up to the top. As we're seeing the shuffling coming with just 2 laps to go here, it's going to be shuffled up more than ever. These people know when to make the move, and they're going to make it count. A lot of these guys want to shuffle up and shuffle up to the front as fast as they can, but they also know I've got to play it safe through these here few laps, as we've still got a few miles left to run more than we have on a green-white checkered, and the 93 will get tagged in the left rear, and he's going to move up to the top. Incredible save down the back straightaway.
3 laps to go. This time by, and I'll tell you this much, we're coming down to wits' end.
Oh,
Get shot back up. It's over. We're going to overtime. Morrissey, Bozzi, Kunman, and among others, you'll see Tyler Rush getting through. Winstead still has damage. It's going to send us to our final caution tonight. No matter what, this will be your finish. We're going to overtime, a one and only green-white checkered opportunity. And here's the instant replay coming at you on your screens here with Morrissey You saw Kunman, you also saw their Stagner. They stack up with Justin Gibbs. Gibbs gets in a rush, and then it looks like Tyler Snyder goes 3. The trouble begins when the rush wiggles, bobbles, and it looks like then Snyder goes down to Kunman. Kunman immediately comes back up, and it becomes a chain reaction from there. And the 4 horsemen having some trouble with Caleb Morrissey, notably. Not to mention, there's also Adam Bozzi and Kunman's Knight, which was one of a comeback story from the back of the field to kick it off. He's now going to find himself on a wrecker, ending his chances at a solid finish.
Yeah, these guys really are going to get aggressive. And as we saw just there, we're coming up to the point of no return. Going to have one green-white checkered attempt, as we saw in the truck race. Oh, we got a person who has blown up. I'm going to try and see who that was, but someone just lost their motor.
They lose it on a pit row. We're trying to get a look at it right now. Kenny Brooks looks done, but I don't know if it's him you're talking about. Cummins is limping in. It looks like everyone on the track is fine. You got a read on who it is?
Not quite. I'm trying to get a read to see who I can possibly find. Maybe it was someone sitting down pit road because I don't see anyone smoking. The 4 under his own power as well. Some of these guys, I don't see anyone obviously coasting down. So unclear who that was, but I did hear the motor go.
Smoke billowing. I think if anything, it might have been Kenny Brooks there because he looks to be all but done tonight. That's another driver really taken out of this one. And just like that, this is a green-white checkered finish. Let's explain the procedure here because we saw it on Tuesday. This is the one and only. No matter what happens from this point onward, the race is in official territory. It's lap 80 right now, but that does not mean the race ends immediately because we're going to have ourselves that 2-lap shootout. If a caution comes at any point, even if it happens 5 feet after the start-finish line, the race is over, and we will have our results official to end the night. However, if we get to the white flag, we will not have a caution for the rest of the race, and we will go until the end of lap 82, where we will have ourselves a winner here in Daytona. With that being said, every lap matters even more now because we've come practically to the conclusion of tonight's race. And if anything happens, if there's an incident at all, the winner will be decided. So you want to be up in front right now in case there is a wreck. And if anyone goes around, if everyone goes around, you want to be ahead of it. You want to have a chance to take that lead and keep that lead because if the checkered flag falls early, you want to be the one who's up there at the very end.
Absolutely. Being up there when it matters is going to be the most important way to try and win a plate race. You know, you can win it off of sheer luck, but there is a ton of skill that comes down into the art of plate track racing. And that is something that these guys have tried to craft throughout multiple seasons here at Highline. And they've tried to understand the package all throughout here tonight. It's going to be one for the books and one for the ages here as we're gone to the point of no return. One green-white checkered attempt, and it's going to shake up this whole field. Ryan Potter takes the outside lane as Kendall Kerr, the man we talked to about 40 laps ago, wasn't too confident now. Like I said, another update, another caution. He finds himself up another spot. He leads that inside lane. And if the yellow comes out at an opportune time, he might come home in victory lane.
Kendall Kerr started in 20th tonight. Ryan Potter started in 12th. Connor Holden started 15th. But look who's right there. DJ Stagner, who won last season at Daytona. He's inside of the top 5, and he's got his teammate right in front of him. He's got 2 teammates right in front of him. Swamp Motorsports has 3 of their 4 drivers lined up in order right now. Even if Ty Smith does not have a chance to now go once again to victory lane at Daytona, his teammates are lined up to make it 4 straight wins for the Swamp Motorsport operation at the World Center of Racing, and they are in the perfect position to do so. If they get a good launch on this restart and get the jump, I think right now we do have favorites for the win. Doesn't mean the race is theirs by any means, though. I think right now it could go any way. Tyler Hampton's going to get a penalty as a result of his choose rule option. It looks like he came in a bit too late and decided late. However, now all focus is on this run. Down to the start-finish line, they'll go again. It'll be 2 laps of racing. And if the caution flies, the race will be over no matter what.
Well, David, to get us started here on the last restart of the night, the pace car going to make its dive down on pit road, and we're going to see all of 80 laps. Going to come down to this. The green flag flies for the final time here in Daytona, and it's a great start from Ryan Potter. He gets out to an early lead, but could this stand for trouble as the 81 of Connor Holden looks to make a move just behind him, and it's going to be an absolute push fast from the rest of the field behind. Not a great jump for the 21. He finds himself side by side with the 81 Kendall Kerr now falling back. He'll get the push though from Dylan Poteet. He's going to slide up and he's going to get side by side contact there with a 91 of Ryan Potter. He holds just a barely lead, and now by a bumper, a car and a half, now a door, does Ryan Potter lead over that inside lane. And if he gets clear, does he drop? Not clear just yet as Dylan Poteet going for the final shove as we get ready to go through Daytona. 4 corners there for the final time. They come off of turn number 4. White flag in the air for the Highline Racing League. And it's going to be Kendall Kerr as he gets turned for the race lead.
Everyone
they wreck
turns,
across
and
the
the race is
fire.
over on that note. It's a 1 lap to go caution. Are they going to get it? No, they stay racing. We are still going. There's trouble. Ryan Potter leads, and there's no decision. Are they still racing or not? There goes Rodriguez right around. Now we've got ourselves trouble. It looks like they're all still going strong, and it looks to be a whole scoring mess. What is going on here?
Connor Holden now in that 81 machine just over DJ Stagner. These two leading the pack coming into 3 and 4. Stagner goes up to the top, looks high, gonna look low, trying to get as much of a run as he can. Here comes the rest of the field though. Here comes the 42, and here comes the 48, the 12. It's gonna be a side-by-side battle. Coming down off of turn number 4, the 64, the 81. Who's it gonna be? DJ Stagner takes it at the line.
The 2-time Daytona winner comes back and gets it done again. It's now a second victory in the books for Stagner at Daytona, and the world center of racing is his. DJ Stagner wins again and takes the checkered flag in the Westlake Royal Building Products 200. How about that to go back-to-back? Swamp Motorsports maintains dominance, and they come home once again victorious here in Daytona. What a finish, 12 one-thousandths of a second, and Stagner is once again on top.
I mean, what a finish. We saw that wreck happen from the lead. It's not often in Daytona that as the final wreck happens from the leader of the inside lane. And we saw that happen here tonight, which led to a 2-car battle, fighting it out side by side, contact from out of turn 4 all the way to the end. And it's going to be the 64. DJ Stagner takes it at the line, and truly, what a finish.
And you'll see Swamp Motorsports coming together for a celebratory picture. DJ Stagner going to kick off the celebration as his team once again sweep Speed Weeks here in the Highline Racing League. And this time, Stagner converts a pole to a victory and gets it done once again, coming through the grass as he's going to continue his celebration, takes it through mowing the lawn, and gets spinning. He takes it once again to the track. I didn't think the expectation was for Stagner to pull through for a second season in a row, but he got the pole, he came back when it matters, and the teamwork here for Swamp Motorsports really put it all together, and that's what put him over the top as Stagner celebrates and the smoke show is on. There is a burnout, and it's time for the celebration to really begin for DJ Stagner. Stagner gonna park it in the grass, celebrating the victory and taking it back to the middle of the infield here in Daytona. What a race it was from the world center of racing, and just like that, time to go through your results for what was overall a thrilling race from start to finish. A night at Daytona that unfortunately does have to come to an end. But Alex, before we say goodbye, we got our top 3 interviews coming up very, very soon. And first off, we got our, of course, race results after a thrilling event here in the virtual Daytona International Speedway. This is the Westlake Royal Building Products 200, and DJ Stagner comes home as your race winner over 34 drivers in total. He will get it done and come out on top. DJ Stagner is going to be a winner over Connor Holden in second, with Cody Buzzard in third and Roberto Ramirez position number 4. Going to be Jimmy McKee in fifth and Casey Heschel fifth. No, he'll be 6th. One spot behind McKee there in the top 5. Tyler Rush is 7th, Ryan Hines is 8th, and Matthew Rodriguez is 9th, with Ryan Potter rounding out the top 10.
Then going down to 11th, it's Tyler Snyder. Brad Kress followed by in that 12th spot. Dylan J. I believe I have to look at my notes for this. I'm sorry. I need to say his name correctly. And it's Body. Okay. I apologize for the kind of break in professionalism there, but I just had to clear up my mistakes from Tuesday. Dylan J. Body finds himself in that 13th spot. Then it's Dylan Wedgwood, Caleb Morrissey, Chad Winstead, Scott Zellner, Scott Wheeler Jr., who we saw there doing great there in that truck race as well. Not so great here tonight, but he knows that he can get him at any plate check at any time. Matt Muir in that 19th spot, followed by Jacob Hom, who rounds out 20th.
It's going to be then 21st with Alan Kumman, 22nd Dylan Petit, Justin Gibbs 23rd, and 24th going to be Kendall Kerr. 25th spot going to be Adam Bozzi, and 26th Ty Smith, with 27th scored is Michael Deitch, 28th Kenny Brooks, 29th then Tyler Hampton, and Corey Blevins then going to be 30th position on the board. 31st, as we're going to round out the field here, is going to be Austin Bloom. Then we're going to have ourselves 32nd, Toby Wedgwood, 33rd, Lucas Lodato, and 34th, Colton Gardner. Just like that, race is over, and we find ourselves back again at Quiet Track here in Daytona. And how about this time around, we go third to first, and Alex, you'll be standing by with our third place finisher, Cody Bussard, coming into the interview room this time by, coming home with the podium to kick off the season. Great way to get things going for Cody here. Alex, you're standing by with Cody Bussard, our third place finisher.
Cody, you come home in third and is what is one of the tightest battles I've seen come down to the line. Between you and the 42, just over about a couple thousandths, 0.003 to be exact, over Roberto Ramirez. And that is something to, I think that's something insane as we saw the wreck come out. Explain us and tell us how exactly did you find yourself in that position?
Well, we were coming to the white flag, and I saw the cars getting kind of squirrely in front of me, and they just kind of cut down and wrecked, and I shot the gap, and it ended up working out.
Well, here at Plate Racing, we expect a wreck on the final lap, but you really don't expect a wreck that comes from the leader. Tell us how shocking it was when you saw the leader go around on the white flag.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely me and my team, we were talking under caution, what we're going to do. We knew Swamp was going to be tough to beat, but my heart's racing right now. I'm just racing kind of part-time in the series, and this is actually my first start, so I'm tickled silly right now.
Well, I gotta say, P3 in a first start, especially at Daytona with the wreck that collected at least over 12 to 13 cars originally before we had this wreck as well. So able to squeeze and wade your way through that one as well. Find yourself up to third. Really a great race overall. And, give us some insight on how you think the race was overall tonight.
I thought it was great. Everybody, was pretty calm for most of the race. And I was riding in the back, just kind of buying my time, trying to get a little experience. While I'm thinking about it, I do got to apologize that 90, I think it was at 93 that I got into. That definitely wasn't on purpose. With that wreck, I was just trying to avoid everybody. And I'm sorry about that. But this was awesome. I loved it.
Well, you come home in third, and this is such a great start for you, especially when it's your first start at Daytona. Not many people expect to have a good finish, especially when it goes into a plate track like this. You expect to get wrecked and have at it, but you find yourself in third, and that is something incredible to come home with. Anyone else you'd like to thank?
Just thank my whole team and Dylan Body especially. He's really the one that got me into the whole iRacing. My paint scheme, he came up with it because I'm a big fan of Bucky's down here. And I just Adam Bosey for putting it on, and everybody for just letting me be a part of it.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Another man who respects his Bucky's for me. Down here in Texas, we love him as much as anywhere in the deep South and as we're in the South. But thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on third.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.
That was Cody Bussard on the way from a third-place finish in his debut. Tell you that much, great way to kick off a career from 32nd on the grid. So a fantastic night overall. Next up, Alex going to be standing by with our second-place finisher, Connor Holden, coming in 12,000 short of the race victory. Alex with our second-place finisher.
Connor Holden, so close to greatness, and it just fell at the most gut-wrenching time. But you still come home with second out of what was kind of a wreckfesty race there in the end. Tell us how you did it.
We started mid-pack, and about a quarter or a third of the way, we were still mid-pack, and somehow we started making our way to the front. And we had a plan just to stay there, and it worked out in the end. And we almost got it at the line.
Well, you and DJ Stagner had fought it out there at the end. Tell me what it was like trying to hold him off, knowing that he had been a contender and won the year before, and now he has another Daytona win under his belt. What was it like trying to hold off one of the greats behind you?
Well, I've known DJ for 14 years. He's a good friend of mine, and we've worked together for so many years at these tracks, and I mean it goes back to Xbox days, and he seems to amaze me every time he races a car. So you just can't predict at the end there. I did what I could off of four, and I swung it out too far with a block, and as soon as I left the bottom open, I knew he was going to be hard to beat with that kind of run.
Well, I think overall the race we saw here tonight was pretty good. What was your opinion on it overall?
Oh, I thought it was fine. I mean, everybody was a little squirrely, but I mean, every time we thought we were going to have a huge wreck up front, it sorted itself out, and we ended up staying green a lot, and there's a lot of racing out there and a lot of good racing. So I thought it was a great race.
Well, it's not the prime position. You come home as the bridesmaid, but still a second place to open up the season, and so close to a win like that, you're sure to be knocking on the door here at the next plate track. Congratulations on your second place finish. Is there anyone else you'd like to thank?
Well, everybody at Swamp Motorsports, Ty Smith, he had an awesome week, and he had an awesome car tonight. And Ryan Potter, so close there. I was there to help him. Thank you to Swamp Motorsports again, and Holden Wieners, and it's gonna be a great season. I have high hopes, and I'm really looking forward to this season.
Well, once again, congratulations on the second place, knocking on the door of that win on the season. Still, congratulations, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. God bless Toby Keefe.
With Connor Holden on the way, Swamp Motorsports comes back again for a victory, and they now have 4 consecutive at this track in the Highline Racing League. And the man responsible for 3 of these wins is with us right now. Your winner tonight, DJ Stagner. You come home once again, the champion of Daytona. How does it feel once more on top at the World Center of Racing?
It's, it's happy, but at the same time, a little somber having to race Connor like that, and we pull for each other, and I don't know, no team orders here. That's all I got to say. So we all try to win, and that's just what it came down to at the end.
Saw how close it was between you teammates at the very end of this race. You, Brian Potter, Connor Holden lined up perfectly on that final restart to give it a good go. And we saw the chaos in the final lap. Came down to you and Connor there. So what was it like in your mind running through that green-white checkered, understanding that everything came down to those final moves?
Honestly, when we lined up with the choose cone, it wasn't a plan to line up together. It's one of those situations where, personally, from experience, I know it's almost impossible to win one of these from second row inside because you just get boxed in and there's nowhere to go. So, like, to me, there's always a better chance winning from third row top than second row bottom. So, I mean, that's just how it worked out. So, I mean, at the end, when they all started making contact and me and Connor got clear, I told him, I said, if it's just going to be me and you, I'm going to race you. But if the pack behind's got a huge run and they're going to catch us, then I'm going to commit to you to make sure one of us wins. But, we got so far out in front that it was just me and him. So we raced it out all four. And luckily, we didn't crash each other and came home with a 1-2 finish.
And a 1-2 finish to kick off the season. A lot of momentum like what you had to kick off last season, and a great opportunity to get things rolling once again. Now, the schedule this season, we're going to put it up on the stream for the viewers to look at. It's a different look for the Highline Racing League. A few tracks we're going to for the very first time, so we do have a bit of a break after this run here at Daytona. Next up on the schedule, though, as you're going to see right now, we've got ourselves, of course, a continuation of the oval racing. Iowa's going to be up next for 140 laps. We saw you there in the Integrity Racing League when you won your Ignite Series championship earlier last year. You got some good runs there, some experience as well. You think the speed can transfer over for another race?
It's tough to say with the new tire model and stuff. It's tough to say what any of these tracks are going to do. But I would say that I'm okay at Iowa. It's definitely not my favorite track, but I'd be interested to see how it plays out, whether the top's going to come in or whether it's just going to be a bottom feeder. But it'll be interesting for sure.
And we can't wait to keep this season rolling. Much like last season, DJ Stagner, you win at Daytona, and Swamp Motorsports maintains that super speedway dominance. If you'd like to shout at anyone else after this fantastic performance, the floor is yours, of course, as a winner here in Daytona.
All the admins here at Highline, they do a great job. And Swamp Motorsports, Ty, Connor, Ryan, I mean, we worked well together all race. Ty wants me to thank Smith Tank and Steel from Thursday, his win. He didn't get to shout him out, so shout out to Smith Tank and Steel. Raging Cajun Airboat Tours, all those people who support Swamp Motorsports.
And Swamp comes back on top of the world center of racing. DJ Stagner, with 3 wins here in the past 2 seasons of Premier and Truck competition, gets it done again, and of course keeps it going as the king of the high banks. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
DJ Stagner on the move. That is your final interview of the night. We talked to your top 3, Alex, and they all gave us a different perspective of what was a fantastic race. So with this being said, are there any final thoughts you'd like to wrap up with here as we look back on a crazy finish?
Well, this is going to be one of the Highline Racing League races to remember. We saw incredible action throughout the entire field, and what was incredibly a great race. And we had 2 great races in Speed Weeks on Tuesday and with the race here tonight. So I'm going to say here coming home that plate tracks in the Highline Racing League are something to be looking out for, to be a classic every time.
We got more of those on the schedule as we saw on the broadcast. Up next, though, we're going to be taking a 2-week break and come back with an FTN doubleheader on Thursdays. The Iora Cup Series comes alive at Daytona for a 100-lap spectacle, so keep an eye out for that event as we will return Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern, and in addition, Iowa Speedway for the second race of the Highline Racing League Premier Series. It's going to be February 22nd when we come back on this Thursday night and give you double the action exclusively on FTN. We'll be next live, though, on Saturday for the Saturday Night Thunder Series as they keep their championship hunt going after a fantastic event at the virtual Watkins Glen International. Jordan Kuntz is a 3-time winner in 4 races already. He's been the clearly dominant man so far. NASCAR, you can't wait to find out whether or not he'll keep that dominance or if someone else can rise up to the challenge. This has been a presentation of the Highline Racing League Premier Series and the Westlake Building Products 200. I've been David Kreutz, commentating and producing alongside Alexander Balderas, commentating here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. If you enjoyed tonight's action, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated, and we'd love to see you all whenever we're live again on FTN. Thank you all for your immense support, and we will see you all in our next broadcast.